The Johnsky is a YouTube channel run by and run for people over the age of 13. People under the age of 13 should click off of this video right now, or watch with a parent or guardian. Viewer discretion is advised. Miltus freaking today, Englishman. My name is King Prime and welcome back to another video here on the YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at another brand new, well, at the time of recording, Transformers figure, that being the Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Bombshell. Here is the packaging, but before we get into the figure, let's take a quick look at that aforementioned packaging. Up at the front there we have a picture of Bombshell in his Scarab Beetle mode. Scarab Beetle, I'm not quite sure, it may be a Stag Beetle, can't tell. It says Insecticon Bombshell. Down there's the Legacy Evolution logo, Deluxe Class, Transformers logo, and Generations into card traits up at the top there. At the very top we have the tech specs. On the side of the packaging we have Bombshell's name in Cybertronian, as well as a portrait of his face. Then that same exact portrait, just a little bit zoomed out so you can see exactly what's going on. On the other side here we have that nice artwork of the Nemesis, and then of course all the different characters, the Insecticons, the Junkions. Down at the bottom we have the authentic trades, as well as the Legacy logo again. On the back of the box here we have a picture of Bombshell in his robot and insect mode, as well as the Evo Fusion gimmick, which can combine his weapons into one single weapon, as well as some legal jargon on the bottom of the back of the box and on the bottom of the box proper. And that's about it. I say it in every single video, my friends. You only really care about this packaging if you are a boxed or carded collector, of which I'm not. I'm here to open and review toys, and that is just what I'm going to do. Freeze frame. Freeze frame unfreeze, and here is Bombshell. But before we take a look at Bombshell itself, let's take a look at his accessories. First off, of course, we do have his blaster, which is cast in gray plastic and painted silver. It is very reminiscent of the original G1 blaster, just very gappy, in my opinion. I wonder why it wasn't a full piece, but you know, teach their own, I guess. I guess if Hasbro is going to cut costs, then let them, but you know, this is what we've got, and it does work as its intended purpose. Of course, Bombshell can hold it. And, you know, it's just like a little pistol, something too extreme, but, you know, it works. Also included are these little underarm guns, kind of similar to how Shrapnel had them, but these are just a little bit smaller. And per the Evo Fusion gimmick, you can combine all of these weapons into one sort of mega gun. So now you have a triple-barreled pistol instead of one, and then you can give that back to Bombshell. And that works in some capacity. Personally, I still don't like the Evo Fusion gimmick. I prefer to leave these as they lie under his arms so that they blend in a little bit better with the Insecticon motif, or the insect mode. But moving on to Bombshell himself, he is a pretty okay representation of his G1 form. Keen-eyed viewers among you will notice that his entire body is purple, and that wasn't originally the way it used to be. There used to be a lot of black going down either side of his arms, but for whatever reason on this Legacy Evolutions figure it is purple, which, you know, I can't really explain. I guess it would have been too hard to dual mold the plastic, or at least to paint over it, but you know, Hasbro does things the way they do. But getting down close on Bombshell here, you can see he is a spitting image of his G1 self, with those beady little red eyes, as well as that grill-like faceplate which he had in the original G1 cartoon. Going down, he does have the same kind of clear yellow window piece for his chest that has the silver piece underneath to match all three of the Insecticons. This one is just the third of a kind that has the same silver details overlaid on that. A couple little yellow pieces painted on either side of his arms, which I'll show off a little bit better in the transformation. Going down, his legs are cast in gray and black, and there's a couple red details and blue details, which again I will talk about a little bit more once we get into the alternate mode. But moving on to the articulation himself, Bombshell does not have a ball joint at the head. He just has a swivel, which you can control with the giant kibble apparatus, which hangs off the back of his head. This is, if you can believe it, G1 accurate. At the shoulders, he does have a 4-inch motion and go all the way out. as well as full 360 range of motion at the shoulder. He does have an upper bicep cut as well as a pretty good elbow bend. Nothing at the wrists, unfortunately, but an in and out joint due to transformation. He does have a waist swivel as well as a swivel joint at the hip, so you can get a forward kick, backward kick, and outward kick just like that. He has an upper thigh cut, so you can get a little bit more articulation there, and pretty okay knees, nothing too impressive. And he also has an ankle pivot and a toe bend down but not up. So overall, pretty decent articulation, basic stuff, just like the other Insecticons, nothing too spectacular, but at least he follows consistently with the others. To compare him to those others, here is Bombshell next to a little Lego minifigure, such as Batman. Here he is next to our previous Transformers review, his Insecticon brother, Shrapnel. And here he is next to his other Insecticon brother, Kickback. So we have all three G1 Insecticons, and they look fantastic together. I always like when these teams start to come together, and this is no exception. Having these guys on my shelf definitely creates a theme, and the one thing I noticed when I bought this figure was that the purple on his chest might have been a little bit different, or looked a little bit different in the product photos than the other figures did, but in person it does not. It looks pretty uniform, and I'm very happy about that, so that they all match and they all will display and look good together. But that's enough for the comparisons. Let me show you exactly how this guy transforms. Freeze frame.
What the dog doing?
Freeze frame on freeze. So to start off the transformation, the first thing you can do is straighten out both arms so that they are sticking straight down to the sides, and then fold in the hands like you do with so many other figures. Next, you're going to want to fold up this head piece, I'll call it, which just rotates up like this and tabs in with a little bit of force you have to give it, but it'll be fine. The next thing you're going to want to do is take the shoulder and bend it in like this, and we'll reveal a giant yellow orb and click into place once it's fully extended. So that'll cover the sides of where the arms once were. Do that on the other side as well. You can straighten out these little bug legs which hang off of his shoulders. Next, you're going to want to go to the waist and rotate it 180 degrees. You can then come back around to the front and open up the shins. And once you do that, you can fold down the feet. And if this is familiar, that's because the bottom half of this figure is just borrowed from Shrapnel. So you can do the exact same thing, just fold up the thighs, and then connect them once they're in place. And then the hard part comes in where, once you have everything in place, just rotate the arms at the upper bicep cut 90 degrees so that the bottom blasters are facing upwards. And you'll see on the side of the arm there's this little tab right there. On the inside of the shin there is a panel which is very hard to see. There's a little hole right in there which you need to get that tab into. And that is easier said than done sometimes. A pro trick that I've learned is actually to remove this panel as a whole and then line that tab up with that hole like so, and then reattach it so that the arm is now firmly in place. Of course, you can do this on both sides, or you can just kind of twist it like this in order to get it to tab in properly, and it will stay. And that is the alternate mode. Truthfully, that step is a complete pain in the ass. I hate having to do it, but the result is undeniably Bombshell. As you can see, those details I talked about earlier that were kind of hidden away on the back of the legs are now brought to light, such as the Austrian flag that is very long along the side of the leg, as well as these blue and yellow details that emulate the stickers of the G1 toy. The yellow orbs, which have become sort of like the eyes of Bombshell's insect mode, that were the inside sockets for the shoulders, and the blaster cannon, which is very similar to Bombshell's actual blaster, but it's the one on his head, which has, again, a port for blast effects, same as the handheld. But overall, pretty nice painting and detail on the insect mode, despite it being pretty plain. But for comparison, here is a little Lego minifigure, such as Batman. Here is our previous Transformers review, Shrapnel. And here is the other Insecticon team member, Kickback. And that is how, I'll move the bat here, how they all compare to one another. And of course, I forgot to mention, there is weapon storage, but it's not as subtle as the other two, unfortunately, but it is there. There are, of course, ports everywhere on these figures for storage of weapons. It just happens that Bombshells is on his butt, which is funny. But that's how they all look together. Let's go on to my final thoughts so I can tell you exactly what I think about this figure. Freeze frame. Freeze from unfreeze. So overall, Bombshell is just like Shrapnel, a very basic figure. The Insecticons as a whole, except for Kickback, who was kind of a little bit more complex, were a very simple set. I don't think that this is necessarily a bad figure, even without the paint apps or the dual molding, whichever would have been the theoretical alternative for the chest piece to have the black details on it. I don't think it's a bad figure whatsoever. It's, from the waist down, still Shrapnel, just with a new chest and arm region. Even the arms are kind of similar, just with new shoulders. I stated in the previous review that I don't think that these figures are worth the money that we have to pay for them, and I still hold that regard, but I don't think this is a figure that is worth skipping due to that price. I do think it's a figure worth skipping because it was hard to find. I mentioned also that Shrapnel and Bombshell were the two hardest of this set to even get your hands on, and this one I almost didn't get my hands on because the pre-order window was so short on both Pulse and Amazon, so actually acquiring Bombshell proved to be more of a challenge than anything else. But I did get them, and I don't regret that whatsoever, especially when these three are all together and look really nice on a shelf together. I am personally a really big Cybertron fan and hold a soft spot in my heart for the Insecticons. And as a fan of course, all Transformers media, these guys are pretty prevalent throughout. And so to have plastic representation of Bombshell, my personal favorite of the original trio, is pretty nice. But if you like Bombshell or the Insecticons, the Decepticons, Transformers in general, make sure you share this video with your friends, share it through Facebook groups, all that good stuff. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Keeps helping the channel grow, keeps helping me pump out this content. That's going to be pretty much it for this time, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, peace.